Hello. Um, Today I thought I would do something a little bit different. Sorry, I'm moving my stuff on my table. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different. I'm going to read Eros The Bitter Sweet, or a chapter or two from there, by Anne Carson. Already kind of This is the second time I'm reading the book. It's actually kind of funny. The first time I read this book uh, was an undergrad, and I read it with one of my professors in an independent study. Um, and so I have that copy of the book, which is like this really lovely yellow copy with a drawing, like a very simple drawing on the front. And then after grad school, my the head of my committee she gave me another copy of this, not realizing I had already read it. But I think that coincidence is like really lovely, and um, I actually think it's good that I'm rereading this and later in life, and because a lot of the stuff maybe could go over a 19-year-old's head. um, or like it's just like felt differently with like more experience, and um, maybe I'll read it again later in life. So Eros, just a little. This book, Eros Bittersweet, is like a poetic, what's the word? Translation of Eros by Sappho, right? Um, yeah, it's a poetic translation of Sappho by Sappho, and it's a really like deep dive into like what like bittersweet means and what love is, um, and all its uh, like reality. It also really like goes into like even like theories about language and text itself, um, and like desire and reading, which makes sense. Seems how this is a you know, this is Anne Carson after all. Um, I feel like I've heard some criticism about Anne Carson saying that she is pretty classist, but I don't know. I'm not sure if they're talking about like her text or her as a person. I don't know. Um, I mean, I guess like the text, it can feel a little like dense sometimes. Um, and maybe I don't really understand everything fully. Like knowledge wise, but I think I can understand it emotionally. Um, and I don't need to understand every reference she makes, I think, to sort of get the picture. I also think, you can just sort of like let the words like wash over you and just sort of experience the writing. Um, cool. I just need some tea too, so I'm gonna go ahead and get that. I can't decide if it's cold or warm today. during this time of year, it is always cloudy and rainy and muddy. Um, but I do think I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna go outside today because otherwise I'm gonna be indoors for a long time. Oh, also, like I've been reading aloud to myself a lot recently, so I thought, like, why not do it on the camera? Okay, so this chapter is called Bellerophon is Quite Wrong After All. Although embedded in an epic genealogy, Bellerophons is a story of erotic triangles, ideal matter for a novel. We do not know where Homer got the story. Presumably, it reflects an extremely ancient Lydian layer in the epic tradition from which he drew, dating from a time long before his own. Supposing we place Homer in the 8th century BC, it was a time when some form of reading and writing was known to the Aegean world, or at least to people of Lycia, where the story is set. No one knows what system of writing this was. Homer himself may not have known. The poet is widely believed by scholars to have been illiterate. In any event, he betrays not the slightest fascination, as he tells his Bellerophon story with the phenomenon of writing and reading that figures crucially within it. The motif of letters falls so flat here it makes you wonder. Bellerophon was a young man gifted by the gods with remarkable beauty. Exiled from his home for murder, he takes refuge with King Proietos of Ephyria, and all unwittingly stirs love in the heart of Anteia, Proietos' wife. Proietos' wife. The lover is maddened by desire. The lover is maddened by desire, the beloved unresponsive. A typical erotic scenario, which draws a typical erotic reaction from Anteia. She triangulates. By means of a lying tale, she inflames her husband to jealousy of Bellerophon, so that he resolves to destroy the young but not in direct encounter. Proietos arranges a kind of deadfall, in which the three angles of Eros will close on Bellerophon, when actuated by a deadly text. Bellerophon is dispatched by Lycia to the halls of Anteia's father, carrying his own death warrant. And Proitos sent him to Lycia and bestowed on him a written text that would kill him, Semata Dugra, for he wrote many life-destroying things, Thumo Phothora, on a folded tablet, and bid him show it to Anteia's father so that he might be destroyed. What are the life-destroying things on the folded tablet? The life to be destroyed is Bellerophon's, and the destroyer Anteia's father. Most likely, then, Proitos relates to the father that his chaste daughter has been shamed by the rapist rogue Bellerophon. The erotic triangle that began in Anteia's imagination now acquires the status of written fact. That fact is alive, but so is any novel. This should not detain us. Upon the fact is projected a metaphor that almost kills Bellerophon. The metaphor brings together the action of wooing a lover and the action of reading a written text on the screen of Bellerophon's life. For he is twice unwitting victim of the signs he carries. First, his own beauty, gift of the gods, seduces Anteia unknown to him. Then the folded tablet, bestowed by Proitos, writes the order for his death, and he does not read it. Life-destroying things are the text he carries, but the word Thumothora is an ambiguous one. On the surface, life-destroying things refers to the projected murder of Bellerophon, but the adjective can also convey the emotional sense, heartbreaking, and invoke the seductive beauty that drove Anteia mad. Unwitting wooing began Bellerophon's story. Unread writing will end it. These possibilities float just where Bellerophon cannot see them. Bellerophon is a living metaphor for the blind point of Eros, carrying on his face beauty and in his hands tablet, a meaning he does not decode. The text remains for him a folded one, literally and metaphorically. Unfolded, its two sides compose one meaning, a meaning vitally incongruent with the actual fact of Bellerophon, alive. It is a meaning that is a verb and that will act to assign a new predicate to Bellerophon, dead. It is a meaning whose novel sense will not entirely obscure the previous sense, nor the difference between them, for death keeps life visible while making it absent. The meaning is a blind point, where Bellerophon's knowledge of his own situation disappears into itself. If Bellerophon were to unfold the tablet and intercept the message he is carrying, he would exclaim with Aristotle. He would exclaim with Aristotle, "Well, I was quite wrong after all." That would be a moment of wrenching pain. Also, it might save his life. We have to keep going back to such moments if we wish to maintain contact with the possible. Not anyone else, not anyone else. Bellerophon carried the letter himself, in a so to speak tragic manner, caught by his own wings, says Eustathius, in his ancient commentary on the Iliadic text. Eustathius is overinterpreting. As Homer tells the story, there's nothing tragic about it, for Bellerophon is not caught in Lycia at all. After arriving at the court, Antaeus' father Antaeus' father, he hands over the damning letter to the king, then proceeds to discredit its contents by historic heroic exploits, and win the king's other daughter to wife as his reward. The folded tablet is not mentioned again. One can see easily how Bellerophon's tale, told from the point of view of Antaea, for instance, could have furnished a tragedy. Equally, there is fair material for weaving a romance around Bellerophon and his Lycian bride. The Iliad does not tell these stories. Homer's hero is a warrior and a winner. Love is incidental to him. Moreover, attempts to interpret him symbolically prove frustrating. Bellerophon wins out in the end by heroic virtue, not by unfolding his own metaphor. Homer is not primarily interested in the puzzles of inference and reference that amuse novelists and later poets. He has a war to wage. Nor is Homer interested in the writing on the folded tablet. Like Bellerophon, he transmits and ignores it. Why does Bellerophon not read the tablet? He has no curiosity. Is he illiterate? Does he scruple to break the seal? These same questions might he put to Homer. What is his relationship, as a poet speaking from within an ancient oral tradition, to his Lycian vignette about the alphabets and love triangles? Can he read the signs he is using? I do not know how one could answer these questions. A powerful metaphorical potential seems to be fossilized within this traditional story of Bellerophon and his killing text, but except in overinterpretation, it cannot be drawn out. Nonetheless, the story offers some matter for speculation about literacy and its effects on writers and readers. Bellerophon's myth derives, as we have said, from a time when Lycian society knew some from some form of writing. The myth brings together a number of the notions we have been exploring in ancient novels. For example, it is a love story where Eros acts from a folded text. Its erotic situation acts from a folded text. Its erotic situation includes two terms until the lover deliberately complicates these by adding a third angle. A written text is the mechanism of the complication. Along the angle where the written text enters the story move elements of metaphor, inference, paradox, and imaginative action. These elements inscribe a blind point at the center of the story and at the center of its hero. Bellerophon, and to the blind point, we watch several important questions about Bellerophon and about Homer disappear. Can anything be learned from the repeated confluence in different genres of these elements with the phenomenon of literacy? It would seem to make sense that when an author begins to use and to think about reading and writing, his imagination is trained along certain lines. His mental landscape is lit from a certain angle. The novel as a genre evolved in adaptation to that angle, deep within the Bellerophon story from pre-Homeric imagination has traced the same angle. It provides us with a special, intractable pleasure as we read. Homer does not, in the self-conscious manner of the novelist, exploit that pleasure, yet our reading of his version brings us somewhat closer to the question that lies at the heart of the matter. It is a question about the relations between readers and their writing. We have already recalled the famous words of Francesca in Dante's Inferno. Other similar scenarios come to mind, for example, that of Pushkin's heroine in Eugene Onegin. Tatiana is besotted by romantic fiction. With what attention she now reads a delicious novel. With what vivid enchantment drinks seductive fiction. Sighs, and having made her own another's ecstasy, another's melancholy, she whispers in a trance by heart, a letter to the amiable hero. Readers in real life, as well as within fiction, bear witness to the lore of the written text. The novelist Eudora Welty says of her mother, she reads Dickens in the spirit in which she would have eloped with him. Dickens himself would not have been discomfited by such a spirit in a reader, if we may judge from a letter he wrote to Maria Bannell in 1855. Here he speaks of his novel David Copperfield to the woman who inspired Dora. Perhaps you have once or twice laid down that book and thought, how dearly that boy must have loved me, and how vividly this man remembers it. Though Francesca, through Tatiana, through Maria Benio, through Eudora Welty's mother, some current of Eros leapt from a written page. You have felt it yourself, reading Montaigne or Heliodorus or Sappho's. Can we arrive at a more realistic appraisal of this phenomenon? Just what is erotic about reading and writing? Yeah, I'm not sure if there's like much that I could take away from this personally, or much that spoke to me personally about this chapter. But it feels almost like a bridge to something that might be, you know, more interesting for myself. I underlined something. Oh, this part. Unwitting wooing began Bellerophon's story. Unread writing will end it. Unwitting wooing. Unread writing will end it. Okay. This chapter is called The Realist. No one contradicts me now. No one contradicts me now. and the salt has gone out of my life. Queen Victoria after Albert's death. Eros loves strife and delights in paradoxical outcomes. Cheriton, Cheries, and Calerio. No one contradicts me out, and the salt has gone out of my life. Queen Victoria after Albert's death. That doesn't sound very. Someone didn't like Albert. um. Okay. It is nothing new to say that all utterance is erotic in some sense, that all language shows the structure of desire at some level. Already in Homer's usage, the same verb has the meaning to give heed, to make mention, and also the meaning to court woo, be a suitor. Already in ancient Greek myth, the same goddess has charge of rhetorical persuasion and the arts of seduction. This goddess is Pytho. Charge of rhetorical. Okay. Already in earliest metaphor, it is wings or breath that move words from a speaker to listener, as they move eros from lover to beloved. But words that are written or read place in sharp, sudden focus the edges of the units of language, and the edges of those units called reader and writer. Back and forth across the edges moves a symbolic intercourse. As the vowels and consonants of an alphabet interact symbolically to make a certain written word, so writer and reader bring together two halves of one meaning. So lover and beloved are matched together like two sides of one knucklebone. An intimate collusion occurs. The meaning composed is private and true and makes permanent perfect sense. Ideally speaking, at least, that is the case. In fact, neither reader nor writer nor lover achieves such consummation. The words we read and the words we write never say exactly what we mean. The people we love are never just as we desire them. The two symbola never perfectly match. Eros is in between. Both the experience of desire and the experience of reading have something to teach us about edges. We have endeavored what that to see what that is by consulting ancient literature, lyric and romantic, for its exposition of Eros. We have watched how archaic poets shape love poems as triangles. Now, ancient novelists construct novels as a sustained experience of paradox. We caught sight of a similar outline, even in Homer, where the phenomenon of reading and writing surfaces in Bellerophon's story. We speculated about writers' purposes to seduce readers. Question mark. And we are finally led to suspect that what the reader wants from reading and what the lover wants from love are experiences of very similar design. It is a necessarily triangular design, and it embodies a reach for the unknown. Desire for knowledge is the mark of the beast, Aristotle says. All men reach out to know. As you perceive the edge of yourself at the moment of desire, as you perceive the edges of words from moment to moment in reading or writing, you are stirred to reach beyond perceptible edges, towards something else, something not yet grasped. The unplucked apple, the beloved just out of touch, the meaning not quite attained, are desirable objects of knowledge. It is the enterprise of Eros to keep them so. The unknown must remain unknown, or the novel ends. As all paradoxes are, in some way, paradoxes about paradox, so all Eros is to some degrees. Desire for desire. Hence ruses. What is erotic about reading or writing is the play of imagination called forth in the space between you and your object of knowledge. Poets and novelists, like lovers, touch that space to life with their metaphors and subterfuges. The edges of the space are the edges of the things you love, whose inconsonancies make your mind move. Make your mind move. And there is Eros, nervous realist in the sentimental domain, who acts out of love of a paradox. That is, as he holds the beloved object out of sight into a mystery, into a blind point where it can float known and unknown, actual and possible, near and far, desired and drawing you on. That's lovely. I want to look up what I don't know. I'm gonna look up what subterfuges means. I feel like it's something I always look up. So a subterfuge deceit, used in order to achieve one's goal. Oh, it's kind of interesting. Poets and novelists like lovers touch that space of life with their metaphors and subterfuges. So it actually kind of brings to this idea of like, image making. Because like image making is an illusion, or like there's this level of deceit sort of involved with it, and I think it really like troubles a lot of painters or image makers, and it's like we're always trying to find a balance between like speaking truth to like the flatness of the picture plane or like the surface that we're working on, and um creating illusory space that sort of unfolds and tells like a narrative, or um to just like create space. Sarah J, she's a pretty mostly known for like her pretty like complex, meticulous installations. She actually, I think in more recent years, started painting. I don't know if it's painting again or just painting in general. But she made this really interesting uh, distinction between painting and uh, installation and sculpture, and that for herself, and it's something I kind of resonated with, where painting creates space and sculpture exists in space. Um, so in a way, sculpture actually uses less subterfuge or less deceit. It almost uses less metaphor to convey um, the things it needs to convey. And I find that really fascinating. But then I guess it depends on the kind of sculpture you're making. Because then if you look at artists like Robert Gober or even Jean Silverthorne, and she was one of my professors. They're creating things that are like very like realistic, um, but exists in a material that's like um, very specific. Like Jean Silverthorne specifically uses like silicone for all of her materials. So like you can capture like this lifelike quality to it, but then silicone has like its material constituents to where it can sometimes like flop over, or you can make it stand up stiff if you have to. There's like things you can mix into like the material. And then Robert Gober too, I'm just thinking about um he'll like cast things in like lead or like crystal, um but they'll just be like everyday objects. That's really um fascinating. And suddenly like the everyday objects carries like a material a material that's sort of like hidden to the eye, but it is like so fully present. It is like the entire object. So that would be a subterfuge in a way, but it also is like kind of what makes like the object like so interesting and unusual, is that it has like this invisible weight to it. It's like this thing that sort of exists behind the word. It's like the history behind a metaphor. It is the metaphor. Um, it's the history behind the metaphor, the thing behind the metaphor that we all can sort of inherently understand, that helps us to sort of like understand the complexities of these objects that people are making. Um, I think that's really, um, yeah. And I love also this, like, thinking of like the reader and writer sort of being at the edge. Where is that at? The words you read. Okay. But words that are written or read place in sharp sudden focus the edges of the units of language, and the edges of those units called reader and writer. I love that. It's like the edges or the border or like the thing defining it. Um, it's sort of like the thing at the end and the beginning. Um, yeah, I think that's okay. So let's see. I think that's all I want to read for the day. This stuff is like so dense to me that I can only really read like I guess like 8 pages a day. But when you're reading it out loud, things slow down. You're kind of doing like a simultaneous action of like deciphering and delivering. Um, so it is just like a slower process. Um, I guess like one thing I wanted to work on today was um, so I wanted to take a break from the landscapes today, and I wanted to work on what we'll call it floral paintings or drawings or bouquets. My I did a really lovely bouquet. I've done 2 paintings of bouquets so far, and my professor, or I guess like now colleague, Miriam, she was telling me that I should just like do some more, and I think it'd be worth just like spending a day just like focusing on that. And I started some bouquets last in the fall, maybe like maybe late summer, early fall, sometime there. But and I was looking at Dutch floral paintings while making them, and I ended up not finishing any of those. There was just like a tediousness to them because I was like working in color pencil, and I just didn't have like the tenacity at the time. I think I was juggling a lot of different ideas, and I just like wasn't what I wanted to focus on at that moment. Yeah, I think right now I'm sort of like in this unusual gray area where I'm, working on this new work. Uh, I'm having some new ideas or new iterations of some older ideas, and I don't know. I think trying to figure out how to balance all of it. I think I want to continue working on these new paintings, of course, and they're small and simple, so they don't take me a long time. And I think it will be worth maybe like starting to work on some, I don't know, larger paintings again. I don't know. I don't know if I have the space for larger painting right now. I guess like what is large, I think I'm thinking like just like larger in terms of the things I've been working on in the videos. So yeah, I think I'll start with like drawing um, today. Um, and probably go from there. I think eventually I need to go. Maybe I need to go like out and just be out in the world for a little bit. Um, so maybe I'll go. I think it might be nice to go to like a cafe and like maybe get some ideas out in a sketchbook um, of these flowers. And I think I need to bring maybe like a reference book of flowers just so I can, you know, have things to work from. I, yeah, I'm gonna get my sketch pad right now and I'll just like draw while. Okay. So let's see. Here's a little book. I think it's from my dad's like collection of books. That he has in his garage. It's called Favorite Wildflowers. Um, Maybe I'd reference this for like inspiration for shapes. I'll just be drawing in my little sketchbook. Did I start this backwards? Oh no. Um, can like lower it so we can like see what I'm looking at. Okay. I was trying to find inspiration yesterday for, I don't know, contemporary still lives. I think at the end of the day, you just sort of have to start working, and there's only so much looking at other people's work will do. And yeah, I think I want to make some still lifes to sort of coincide with um, the landscapes I'm working on. I think that'd be really nice. I tried drawing some figure stuff and I just like was not vibing with it. So I think I just need to follow this thread. It's so funny. One of the things I'm realizing is like how like I just like whenever I'm like out in nature, it's like I don't know what is going on. Like I couldn't tell you what a plant is, or like what plant or what tree is what. Like it's not something I'm like I feel like I'm suffering from. Uh, like I know a few things. Like I'm not like totally lost, but you know, I feel like I'm just like not like some of these people. And I think maybe I don't mean to put off this vibe, but I think maybe I put off foragey vibes, even though it's like I don't forage. Um, it's not something I'm like not trying to mislead anyone. Maybe I'll do like a watercolor today and just like start to finish. And even if I have to like collage, just like and like cut things out, restart. Like I'm just like, figuring it out. And I just like make one really amazing thing. Or maybe, next week, me and some of my colleagues and friends, we've been meeting up once a year for like a week and we'll just like draw and hang out together all day and like make food for each other. And it's really just like so lovely and fun. And these are people I work with at school. And I, I don't know, it's nice. We can like just talk about how the semester went. think teaching for me this semester was like a lot easier. I I decided to do just like a lot less in a good way. I think I was doing way too much before, and everyone was suffering, including me. And I don't know, I just like felt all this pressure, just like trying to figure out what works for me as a teacher. I don't think it's a one size fits all. Do an iris, that'd be really pretty. I guess also like, yeah, I don't know. I just felt like students are going through so much right now, and I don't know if I already talked about this in one of my previous videos, and I just, yeah, no, I did. Now I'm remembering. But just to reiterate, they're going through a lot right now with like the protest and stuff, and I just, you know, I read in a pamphlet about, being an advocate for Palestine is to sort of, act calmly and not take on the tone of the aggressor. And that was really like, I don't know, a pulling moment, a good moment. I don't know, that it was like a aha moment for me, because I think coming out of, I was in a lot of, doing a lot of stuff in 2020, and when all those protests were going on, and we were sort of like collectively very pissed off. And I adopted a really like aggressive nature, more aggressive than I ever had before. Um, because I felt like um, that's what I had to do. That's what I think a lot of people felt like that's what they had to do. Um, and as I get older, my role changes. Um, and now I'm in a place where where I feel I'm supporting younger voices. Speaking of which, I need to email one of my students back. They were telling me that they got into one of the schools I wrote a recommendation letter for, and they're just, very kindly telling me, informing me. I need to write them back. Wonder how I'd paint this, or I guess I could use acrylic on top of watercolor. I think I want these still lifes to be kind of in contrast to the landscapes. The landscapes are so quiet and empty. And I think I want these still lifes to be loud and crazy. I wonder if like that would work with each other. I have no idea. And if anyone asks me what these flowers are, I'm not gonna remember. I'll try, but I don't know. Don't put any pressure on me. I don't have the best memory when it comes to like memorizing things. I'm already feeling like inspired by this. Ooh, a lady slipper. That's interesting. I actually don't know if I like it. I don't like it. It's just not for me. I don't like lilies either. Yeah, no thank you. Lobelia. I like some of the shapes of the lobelia. Lobelia is kind of like giving some like Y2K goth. Hmm, I like those leaves. Yeah. I'm thinking, how could I make these like unusual or odd? I guess like when I first started doing the some of the floral paintings, I was thinking of them as like metaphors for people, or like in place of a figure. So how can I give a bouquet of flowers like a human characteristic? How do you make these flowers feel, I don't know, they're already so loaded to begin with. I think one of the things with especially doing stuff like this is like just I need to not worry about what trying to do something with it, but just paint it beautifully and paint the things I like with it. And then the meaning or the complexity will sort of like come out of that, and you don't need to like force it. This is called Marshall Marigold. Do you like Marybelle's? Marybelle's the name of one of my aunts, and she's actually an art teacher in Miami. She is from Puerto Rico, and I think there's like a courthouse named after her father. I remember going when I was younger to visit Puerto Rico, and we were gone for a while. It was like a 2 week vacation, and we went to the rainforest and we went to these like it was like a cave or something, and I remember I touched this plant that was like very poisonous, and like feeling very itchy during like the cave tour, and I don't know, it was very like funny story. But then we went to this waterfall, and I like washed my hands under the waterfall, and the itchiness went away. So it felt very like mystical. Mhm. Maybe it'll be a combination of like busy and calm. Maybe I just like won't worry about it. I'll just draw it and see what happens. A partridge pea, how precious. Am I moving too fast? I can't tell. I'm just going through the flow. I'll move a little slower. Mm. A lot of them are like similar shapes, but there's like some like slight differences. Like how it, especially like the leaves and sort of like the centers of the flowers. Mm, I think that's enough. Oh, I do like, that's interesting. Just like wondering how big I should go for these. I'm thinking I might work on paper for this. Um, at least for the first one, that's what I'm thinking. So I'll work on paper. It might actually yield more interesting results than if I were to just paint. Um, okay, well, sorry, don't mean to end on a yawn. I'm going to. Um, I think I need to get sort of move on with the rest of my day. I think I'm gonna ask Lewis or Justin or both of them if they want to like get food today. Everybody works from home. Those are like the people who live close to me. So, anyways, well, see you tomorrow.